pleased to have with me Dr. Christopher Schneider. He is an assistant professor here at UBC in the Department of Sociology. And more exciting than even that is that you are an author and just hot off the press, 2 books in 1 week.
There they are.
Right?
That is correct. 2 books in 1 week, yes.
So tell me, maybe one at a time, about these books.
Well, the book that you're holding on top there is called Qualitative Media Analysis, and this is a second edition of a previous book, also called Qualitative Media Analysis, and essentially what it does is provide a sort of framework for how to study media. And this is something I've been looking at in my own kind of intellectual work, is the role, the dominant role of media as an institution in our everyday lives. Indeed, media is one of the very last things that we all have in common with one another. In that, for instance, you and I can have a sustained conversation right now about what it is we think about Afghanistan, the Vancouver riots in 2011, a number of issues. But the odds are good. I mean, neither one of us has been to Afghanistan, or perhaps neither one of us was in Vancouver during the riots.
I wasn't.
I wasn't either. So how is it we even know what we're talking about and where do these ideas come from? Very importantly in the research literature, it's not that media affects or determines the way we think. It rather influences, right? So
now some might argue that. Some might actually say it does influence.
Oh no, it absolutely
It
influences.
even tells us what the truth is.
Well, this has been widely dismissed in the academic research literature, primarily with the work of a very prominent late criminologist, Richard Erickson. And he comes up with 2 different ideas of way of exploring or understanding the role of media. One's called the effects-based approach. The other's called the institutional model or institutional-based approach. The effects-based approach is the idea that the media are like a hypodermic needle, and they just inject content into our mind, and then we just passively accept it. This is highly problematic and been widely dismissed. However, this is something that media today very much attached to. So when we hear about really unfortunate things like the so-called Batman shootings in Aurora, Colorado, people very quickly to blame Batman and the Joker, and this is why this kid did this. And is that a part of it? Yeah, probably. Is that the only reason why this kid did this? No, we can't say that with certainty.
So we'll find some of this kind of information in this book?
Not about Aurora, Colorado, but we will be, there's a whole chapter in there actually on developments in social media, particularly the role of Facebook in the 2000 Vancouver
That's right.
Riots, yeah.
Because they were actually able to charge people because of some of the information that was on Facebook. Is that right? Did I get that right?
That's an important thing to consider, and something we explore is that things that people post on Facebook or do and say online, these are a part of the puzzle that police and other authorities can draw from to kind of make a larger case against somebody. But just because there's what appears to be an incriminating post online, I broke into the bay and stole something or whatever it may or may not be, we need to establish, or the authorities, the RCMP and the Vancouver Police Department, that that person actually exists in real life. They are who they say they are. They were actually at the Vancouver riots. They were actually in the Bay. And how they do that is they find other evidence, other witnesses, other video, and so this is a part of the puzzle, right? And then it contributes to that. What these media do, Facebook in particular in this case, is they problematize or complicate police work.
Oh, really?
It slows it down because now we have a whole bunch more data to comb through, and Canadians have been kind of upset with well, why is it taking so long? The evidence is there. Clearly, this person did this. Well, not clearly, right? Because it has to be proven in a courtroom beyond a reasonable doubt that what it is we're saying actually happened.
Right.
And there's a lot of materials. So we look at, for instance, the first 2 weeks following the Vancouver riot. On Facebook, we collected 12,587 postings made to the main page of one Facebook page in relation to the riots.
Wow.
And that's just one instance of all this data. And what we do is we show how to collect these data, comb through these data, and draw themes and comparison and contrast and better understand, for instance, in this case, the Vancouver riots.
Wow. Well, it doesn't look like a hard read, so that might be a book
it's a fun read.
Get out. It's a fun read. Hey, buy it.
It's
second edition. It's going to be great. Okay, researching amongst elite. Now, I asked you what this was because it says challenges and opportunities in studying up. So explain that.
It sounds like an interesting title. Basically, when you look at the discipline of sociology and sociologists, they tend to, what has been referred to, look down, meaning that they study marginalized populations. So, for instance, poor people. If you want to go out and talk to a poor person or a homeless person, you might say, I'll buy you a sandwich if you have a chat with me, or something like that. Basically, access is very easy. But there's only a part of the population, downward. when we look up and we look in terms of social power, prestige, status, members of parliament, judges, lawyers, doctors, RCMP, Stephen Harper, the Prime Minister, having access to these individuals, talking to them, observing them when they work, this then would give us insight into the society in which we live. The problem is we don't have access. I can't just walk into Stephen Harper's office and say, hey, Mr. Harper, can we have a chat over a burger? I can't have that. So this book basically troubles that and explores some ways, different chapters of how we can have access to look upward in order to better understand the society in which we live. And it's a very interesting read.
The trouble when you've only got 6 minutes to throw an interview together like this is you get somebody like you who's just dynamic and has really interesting information. So maybe what we should tell people is read the books. We'll try to get Dr. Schneider on the show again. And certainly I know you're available and approachable, and you're a great person to access information from. So where would one buy these?
You can find them both on Amazon.com. And I hope when people, if they buy them and read them, that it doesn't put them to sleep at night.
I'm sure it won't do that to me.
Let's hope not.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
See you next time.